The mathematical notation for the slope is m. And in a physical sense, the slope is equal to the rise over the run. And we also have a formula when we are dealing with points, the slope through 2 points. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. We'll physically calculate a slope using the rise over the run, and then we'll use the formula y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So let's take this first example. We're asked to find the slope. And I'm going to draw a x and a y axis system. And I'm simply going to go out to 5 units in each direction. Okay, and I have these 2 points. I'm at my origin. I'm going to go over 1 and up 2. So I have this point. All right, so I have this point, which is, I'm going to use 3, 2. So I go over 3 to the left. I'm going to go up 2. And I'm going to use the point -2, -1. So I'm going to use these 2 points, and I'm going to draw a line through these 2 points. Right? And I want to find the slope through these 2 points. So the first, I'm going to use that definition, the rise over the run. So now the rise can either go up or down, and the run goes to the left or to the right. So between these 2 points, I'm going to draw an imaginary right triangle. Okay, and that gives me my imaginary right triangle. And I'm going to physically calculate the rise and the run. So my rise would actually be the distance between these 2 points. That's the rise. And I can count the distance between these 2 points as our run. So just as a precursor, we're going to talk, before we actually calculate the rise and the run, we're going to talk about the classifications of slopes. And as we classify slopes for linear equations, there are 4 different scenarios that we're going to encounter. And just as we read sentences from left to right, we're also going to read these graphs from left to right. So if we take a look at this first example, we're reading the graph from left to right, and notice that the graph goes up. So this particular graph is going to have a positive slope. If we take a look at the second graph, as we read it from left to right, this slope descends or goes down. So we're going to have a negative slope. For any horizontal line, those lines have a 0 slope. And for our vertical, straight up and down lines, those slopes are undefined. So as we're asked to calculate this slope, notice that it rises from left to right. So our slope should be positive. So I'm going to calculate the distances. So I'm going to calculate my distance for run. So when I physically calculate it, this has a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my run is 5. And now while I'm here, I'm going to calculate my rise. So remember, rise can go up or down. So here we're going to go up 1, 2, 3. Therefore, my slope, which is my rise over my run, is equal to 3/5. So now we're going to calculate the slope in a slightly different fashion. We're going to use the formula, and we're actually going to use the points on the line. So for this point to the left, we have the ordered pair -2, comma, -1. And for this point on the right, to pull out its ordered pair, I would go over 3 and up 2. So we're going to find the slope through these points, which should be 3/5, right? But we're going to use it finding the formula. All right, so we have our points -2, comma, -1, and 3, comma, 2. And we're going to use the formula. M is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So we're going to label our first point as x sub 1, y sub 1. We're going to label our second point as x sub 2, y sub 2. Right, so we're going to substitute in the formula. So we have y sub 2, which is positive 2, minus, because there is a minus in our formula, we have y sub 1, which is -1. So we must not neglect any operations or signs. So I have to include a negative operation for my formula, and I have to substitute in a -1. Divided by x sub 2, which is 3, minus, because there is a minus in our formula, x sub 1, which is a -2. We notice from our rules of sign that a double negative equals a positive. So I have 2 plus 1 over 3 plus 2. And once we simplify, we have a slope of 3/5. So we'll take a look at another example. We're asked to find the slope that passes through these 2 points, -1, comma, -3, and 2, comma, 7. So we'll use the slope through 2 points formula, which is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Here again, I'll substitute. Y sub 2 is 7, minus y sub 1 is a -3. Over x sub 2, which is 2, minus x sub 1, which is -1. So if we simplify, the double negatives makes it positive. So we have 7 plus 3 over 2 plus 1, which gives us a slope of 10/3. And we'll take a look at one final example. We're asked to find the slope through 8x, comma, 4y, and x minus 7y. All right, so here again, we're going to label our points x1, y1, and x sub 2, y sub 2. So now, even though we have variables instead of constants, we're still going to use x1, y1 as the first set of points, x2, y2 is the second set of points. So I'm going to write out the slope through 2 points formula. And I'm going to substitute. So y sub 2 is 7y minus, because there's a minus in my formula, y sub 1 is 4y. That's divided by x sub 2, which is x, minus x sub 1, which is 8x. So once we simplify, we have 7y minus 4y, which is 3y, divided by x minus 8x, which is 7x. So we have a slope of 3y divided by 7x.